Hello everyone and welcome to iReadit, bringing you your daily dose of the internet for Monday, June 12th, 2017. I am Michael Schwan and I am alone at the time. I realized the show is starting an hour later than normal. I had to conclude some business. I have a friend who is moving and they needed a bit of help, and by a bit of help I mean that they needed a couch, and it's a big ass heavy fucking couch. But we got rid of the couch. And by got rid of the couch, I meant put it in my mom's house so that I can decide if we're going to put it in my house later or not. We'll see. Nathan is extremely sick right now. He went to help take care of his mom, who was not sick in like a dangerous way, sick in like, flu, cold, whatever sort of way. And he went to go take care of her and do some stuff for her, but instead it looks like he just got sick. So that sucks. But there was news today, and I had already done the work, so I'm going to sit down, and it's probably going to be a shorter show, but I'm going to do the news for you. I've done solo shows before. It's normally not as good as when I have someone with me, but you make do with what you got, and in this case, what you got is me. So real quick at the start here, everybody, I'd just like to ask you to help support the show. Patreon.com/dailyinternet. It's how we fund the show, how we pay for it. Because we are a 4-day-a-week show, the hosting fees for the show can be quite expensive. And so, yeah, we can definitely use the help. And it also, helps pay for, food and stuff like that. So once again, patreon.com/dailyinternet. Normally, Nathan and me have a little bit of back and forth at the beginning. I'm going to tell you that I had a good weekend. I hung out and played games and went to a party on Saturday night and did D&D on Sunday, and it was good. But let's go ahead and start making our way through the news, shall we?
10.
COVFEFE Act would make social media a presidential record. This was submitted by Valenzetti to Our Politics. So, if anyone ever thinks that there is not petty, lowbrow, joking stuff in this isn't a joke, but just like silly stuff that happens in politics, here's a perfect example. The Communications Over Various Feeds Electronically for Engagement Act, or the COVFEFE Act, would make it so that anything that the president says on social media, so like all the stuff that Trump sends out on Twitter, would be part of the presidential record. The White House would have to keep them permanently. And so, and this was submitted by Representative Mike Quigley. He's a Democrat from Illinois. And this isn't the first one of these that he submitted. He also submitted the Making Access Records Available to Lead American Government Openness, also known as the Mar-a-Lago Act, which would force the president to make the White House visitor logs as well as the visitor logs for Trump resorts completely public, since he does host a large number of world leaders at these establishments. So it's funny, though, the small little jabs that you can make at people. Now my question becomes this. How long did Representative Quigley sit in his office trying to figure out a way to turn the word COVFEFE into an accurate acronym, or initialism, I guess? How long did that take? How long did it take for him to find the words to turn COVFEFE into an actual legitimate thing? Either way, I mean, it should be a pretty easy thing to get passed. I mean, it makes sense, especially with, the press secretary for the White House, Sean Spicer, has come out and said, everything that everything that the president says should be considered an official message from the president, even if it's on their personal Twitter. And so, that means that it by what he's already said, it is presidential record. Now we just have to pass the law to make it where it actually is. So I need to figure out what that is. I keep on having my command prompt pop up for a moment. Probably need to scan my computer. I probably have a virus or some crap. It happens, okay? Especially when you are me.
9.
Vladimir Putin critic Alexei Navalny detained ahead of nationwide anti-Kremlin protests. This was submitted by Budget to our news. And what this is there's a lot of people that are unhappy with the state of Russia right now, especially a lot of the Russian citizens. We're not the only ones that are kind of like, what's going on over there? A lot of the citizens don't like being under the iron fist of Vladimir Putin. And so what they're doing is they're protesting. But the problem with that is that Russia is not like America. They don't have the same protections that we have. So what's happened is they're able to suppress a lot of the protests and be like, sucks, guys, we don't care. You can protest all you want, but and they were going to have a unauthorized public protest, which that's how far this goes. You have to have a approval and a literally signed off on, agreed upon thing to go have a protest, and if you don't have that approval, you're not allowed to do it. And they had put together this protest that they were going to go to. 30 minutes before the protest was supposed to take place, one of the main critics, Alexei Navalny, he got arrested because he was part of the organizers for it, and they kind of had they don't actually say the direct charges because, well, it's Russia. They don't have to. But as well as 100 of the potential protesters have also been brought in. So fun times. We'll see what happens from that. I mean, Russia's in a state of very interesting intrigue, I guess is the best way I can put it, because like they are a world power and they're wanting to be considered a very serious thing amongst the world powers, but at the same time they do things that makes no one want to associate with them, because it's not necessarily the same as North Korea, because like North Korea doesn't really care for anyone or want to be associated with anyone, whereas comparatively, Russia wants to be part of everything. They just also want to like have their own say and do their own thing as part of everything, which makes it a little bit more complicated. So I wish you luck, Russia. And by Russia, I mean the citizens that want to make it a better place, because the world's shitty.
7.
Shawnee Mission parents question school's district purchase of semi-automatic rifles. So a school district and they made the purchase 2 years ago, and this was back when there was a very large concern over school shootings. Like, you know, there was the mass shootings going on in school, and they were very concerned about trying to keep that as secure as they can. And at Shawnee Mission School, the district administrative center, John Douglas, who's the director for it, purchased and ordered and armed their district officers. They're not police officers, they're district officers, with assault rifles. Well, they're semi-automatic rifles, so it's not quite assault rifles, and assault rifle isn't a good term anyway. Not the point. Point is that they spent tax dollars on big ass rifles and didn't exactly tell anyone about it at first, and so everyone was rather concerned because, well, assault rifle. And there's been a lot of back and forth in the community about it, because some parents are like, yeah, I like that they have additional protection. Other people are like, I don't know, that's kind of, concerning that we have to arm district officers with semi-automatic rifles. And also that no one told us or said anything about it. And that makes sense. But either way, I mean, they already purchased them and they already have them prepared. So it's not like it's up for debate. It's already been done. But everyone's like, is this actually necessary? And I mean, I don't know. They came out in a statement and said that, it's not something they carry on them at all times. It's something that they have access to should such a situation arise where they need it. But I also don't necessarily feel like a district security officer, which is, I mean, essentially a glorified rent-a-cop for your school district, is the right person to respond to a live shooter situation. I feel like, I mean, maybe they are trained well enough. I don't know enough about their program that gives them that position, but I know a lot of those positions, like, you just pass a background check and they say, here's a uniform, keep everyone safe and in line. It's not the same as being like an actual policeman. So maybe we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to keep rolling on this. There's no one to have a conversation with necessarily because Nathan is sick. And I just want to be sure that I did get you guys the news and that there was still a show today since, well, legitimately, some of you people pay for it. And I appreciate you with the muchness. So, moving right along.
6.
Sessions to testify in open hearing before Senate Intelligence Committee. This was submitted by Saucy Tryhard. Saucy Tryhard. To our politics. So following up on the James Comey interview, Jeff Sessions, who was basically called to have a testimony, and he's going to testify into an open hearing, said it's exactly the same thing as what James Comey just did, except instead of James Comey, it's going to be Jeff Sessions, because a lot of the things that James Comey talked about and said, now they need to find out just how influenced Jeff Sessions is. So they're going to sit down and I don't want to say interrogate, because it's not quite interrogation. It's a polite interrogation. They're going to just chat with him for a little bit And it will be under oath, so I mean, you do have that of like he has to tell the truth. If he doesn't tell the truth and we find out about it, then, you know, get the fuck out. We'll see. I mean, they're mostly wanting to talk about and find out if he, one, had a very... Because Trump came out and said, you know, I let go of Comey on the recommendation of the Attorney General, who got the recommendation from the Deputy Attorney General. They also want to find out, you know, did Jeff Sessions have a larger piece in getting James Comey let go? In addition to that, with as many pieces of information that keep getting picked apart from different sources, there's not evidence, but there is an allusion to the possibility that Jeff Sessions had a larger amount of communication and interaction with the Russians than was priorly disclosed. And if so, that's a problem. And I know that there will be some people on some sides of the aisle that are just, you know, saying that they're trying to pick on the Trump administration. But I mean, it comes to that point of if that you did nothing wrong, then there's nothing, there won't anything be done. We just need to find out for the sake of like knowing, because you can't just let stuff like that just slide right by. You have to look into those things because it's a constitutional concern. It's a matter of national security. And I don't care how good of a person you are, there are still situations that can force you into things that are not good situations, to make you do things you wouldn't otherwise do. Some of us don't have money. Some of us have loved ones. Some of us are just greedy bastards. But, I mean, you know, there's a lot of different ways that can go. So I don't want to say, it's nothing against Jeff Sessions' character. It's just we need to know because... Well, I mean, you're the Attorney General of the entire United States of America. You're kind of in an important seat.
5.
Surgeons save constipated man's life by removing 13 kilograms of feces. I'm going to quickly look up what 13 kilograms to pounds is. That is 28.66 pounds of poo. That's a lot of poo. So he actually has a condition, and I can't remember the name of it because I'm bad enough at speaking, let alone if we're going to be using scientific terms. What is the actual name of this condition? It's called Hirschsprung's disease. It's a birth defect that causes a blockage in the large intestine. It's normally found early on in children because they normally find it because when the baby is born, the baby won't have a bowel movement in the first 2 days, and they're like, well, we need to find out. In rare cases, they're still able to sort of have bowel movements, but it still is a problem, which led to this gentleman having 26 pounds of poo sealed in his colon. And there's a way to fix it. I mean, first they had to remove the part of the colon that was just full of crap, and that quite literally. And then they have to basically cut away the parts of the colon that are infected with the disease, and then the colon will heal and repair itself. And then you have to do a bit of monitoring. But the dude was only 22 years old, has always had bad abdominal pains, has been constipated his entire life. And he's like, you know, maybe I just drew a short straw, and had been taking laxatives and things along those lines for a little bit of reprieve. But all they normally did was relieve the stomach pain. And then they found the problem. And if you click the link in the show notes, which I realize I never put into the live chat, do I? Problem. We'll have to address that another time. You can actually see a picture of you don't actually have to look at the poo, but you can see the colon that's full of it because it looks like a weird flesh sock that's full of gross nast. Yep, that just happened. That made me kind of, I don't like that. I shouldn't have said flesh sock full of, nope. All right, moving on, yeah.
4.
Logitech finally finds a good use for wireless charging. A mouse pad. This was submitted by Philo1927 to Our Gadgets. So we've had wireless charging for a little bit. I mean, there's been some indications of possibilities of it from like back in 2004 and 2005, but none of it was very good. Recently, we developed like actual wireless charging that could actually be used for legitimate purposes. Now, the problem with that is, what do you actually use it for? Because transitioning to a new technology is difficult, and Logitech has come out with what might be the first actual use for it, and it is a mouse pad that wirelessly charges the wireless mouse that sits on top of it. Makes sense. The only thing on top of that I would say on that, though, is like I've used wireless mice before. The batteries die like once every 6 months, maybe? Like, wireless mice don't exactly go through batteries very fast. They don't use that much energy. So, I mean, while technically this does work, at the same time, I'm not entirely sure how relevant it is, because it like, if we could get to a point where you could wirelessly charge your phone and it could wirelessly charge in, like, I don't know, 15 to 30 minutes, that's a legitimate thing. That means that, like, one, I don't have to bother with cables or anything like that, and my phone dies, you know, at the end of every day. My phone right now, it's plugged in, but when I got home, it was at 14%, and it was only, you know, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 6:45, whatever, not important. But the thing is, my phone dies, and whereas, like, my mouse will die, you know, once a year, maybe, so it's a good development, and it can lead into trying to find legitimate uses for it that are more easy for people to transition to. But at the same time, I mean, it increases cost. This mouse is 140 pounds, and I'm pounds to dollars. 140 pounds to dollars. That is roughly $175 for a mouse. That's a lot. Like, I have a nice mouse, but I paid $60 for it, and that's expensive for a mouse, but it's still... It's $115 less than this special one. And all it does is, it's a wireless mouse that you never have to recharge, because the mouse pad it sits on charges it. And, I mean, what if I don't want to use a mouse pad? What if I don't like that mouse pad? What if I want to use a different mouse pad? See, I already ruined it.
3,
Trump loses travel ban ruling in appeals court. So this is for his revised travel ban, because they're working on two different cases right now. The original one that was banned by the judge in Hawaii, and the second one that was banned by someone else. And the first one is currently at U.S. Supreme Court appeals court right now, and then this other one was on a different level, a lower level, and they have just overturned it for completely different reasons that led to a similar conclusion. So both of Trump's travel bans are still locked in, judges saying no. So it's going to be 2 more rounds total, finishing up the first travel bans appeal, and then, because I imagine Trump will appeal the second case to the U.S. Supreme Court as well. So 2 more rounds until I don't think there's anywhere to go after the Supreme Court says no. I'm pretty sure that's just it. I'm pretty sure there's nowhere left to go after that. Pretty sure at a certain point the road just ends when you're still trying to force things through that people don't want you to force through.
2,
The introduction of medical marijuana laws lead to a decrease in violent crime in states that border Mexico. This was submitted by Smurfy Jenkins to Our Science. There's not a whole lot to say about it past what I just said. There are actual drug cartels that function out of Mexico and smuggle them across the border, and that leads to a large amount of crime right there on the border. But the states that pass medical marijuana, my stream is frozen. I'll see if I can just reload it and see if that fixes it. States that are on the border that pass medical marijuana, their issues with drug crime and violent crime in general just drastically drops down because there's less problems. Because, well, people aren't doing as many illegal things, or what they were doing isn't illegal anymore, so they don't have to be as concerned and cutthroat about it. And, I mean, yeah, so... it makes sense. It's just one of those things of, like, it's more evidence of why marijuana legalization is more beneficial than detrimental. And on that same line, I mean, it's one of those things of, like, the dominoes have already started to tumble. The wave is crashing upon the shore. Like, everything that's fighting against it, they're fighting against the inevitable is how it feels right now. And then our number 1 story, which is all basically a complete non-story, but the internet seemed to think it was important.
1,
Wait, the text didn't change. Failure. Fail. Anyway, Trump nope, not linked. That's a very different conversation to be had if that was what I was about to say. Trump leaked to the Russians that Israel successfully hacked ISIS computers. Now, this was submitted by Scooby4 to Our World News, and I'm a effing scientist to Our Politics. I like you, sir, and that was good. I enjoy that. This is like a month later follow-up on the conversation about Trump having a conversation with the Russians involving the information leak. And we already had this conversation about how he has the authority to declassify information as he chooses. And if he chooses to declassify that information, there's nothing wrong. That's not against the law or anything like that. He's the president. He can do those things. Now, the problem was, the concern was, will it upset our ally, which we then later discovered is Israel. And Israel basically said, you shouldn't do that, but at the same time, the United States gives us so much information that we're not really going to care. And that all it is that we now have a confirmation of what information was shared. Israel successfully hacked ISIS computers, finding blueprints that showed how they were building their bombs that allowed the bombs to be disguised as a laptop battery. And that's what was shared with the United States because, well, that's a fucking concern. And that's what he shared with the Russians. And when I hear that, like, I understand, like, we are not allies with Russia, but at the same time, I feel like that's an important thing for more people to know, because I don't want planes to get blown up. I don't want innocent people to get blown up because we're not friends with you, so we're not going to tell you this secret that potentially puts millions of people at risk. So yeah, anyway, there's nothing else past that. Just now we have a confirmation of what the information that Trump shared with the Russian ambassador was. That's it. Nothing else. And with that, I am going to hit this and go into post-show and hit this button. I'm not going to do a whole lot for the post-show. Like I said, I just wanted to bring you the news and then close down the show. So what I am going to tell you, though, is a quick couple things that I cared about. I played a video game this weekend called Child of Light. It's only like $10 on Steam. You can find it on sale all the time, and it's only like 10 hours to complete. Great game. I highly recommend it if you enjoy RPGs. It's a beautifully designed game. It's a beautiful game, and it's told in the story is told as though it was a children's book, but it is a very emotional story. So I highly recommend that. Me and Jennifer are now more than halfway through season 2 of Community, and that show is amazing, absolutely amazing, and I love it, and everyone should watch it. And otherwise, that's it. That's it, everybody. I'm at 20 minutes, and I don't feel like doing a whole lot more past that because it's difficult when you're alone, and I ran out of things to talk about. So quickly, I'm going to just run down the quick little send-off stuff real quick. And the first thing I'll ask you to do is support us financially if you can spare. I need to give a quick thank you, actually. One big thank you to our newest patron, Miss Riza Alexander. She has been in the chat room for the last couple of weeks now. She is wonderful. Thank you very much for your patronage. Otherwise, if the rest of you would like to become patrons, if you can spare $1 a month or $5 a month, please go to patreon.com/dailyinternet. Otherwise, follow us on social media. If you didn't get the update that the live show was going to be late today, incidentally, I should point out that we go live Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. Alaska time, 7 p.m. if you're on the West Coast, and 10 p.m. if you're on the East. Save you a little bit of math there. I sent out basically a notice on both Twitter and Facebook that the show was going to be delayed. Didn't know how long. Turned out I got in time to start exactly at 7 o'clock. So you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The show goes live on Facebook, and all of those are at iReaditCast. If you want to follow me, I am at Shawn Michael on Twitter, Instagram, everything, I'm pretty sure. Nathan is at Bimmenstein. Hopefully he gets feeling better, and we will see him tomorrow. Otherwise, other ways you can help, of course, is get the show out there. Share us on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you like to do your social media stuff at. Or leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. That increases our visibility, so when people search for something, like I wonder if there's a Reddit podcast, which we get our news from, we get our articles from Reddit, and so if they search Reddit, we will show up higher on the list if we have more 5-star reviews. So it's a real quick, easy way to help us. Otherwise, if you would like to send messages to us, you can do so. Send us stories or feedback, whatever you got, to our email inbox, which is feedback.ireadit@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail at 508-738-2278. And that is it, everybody. That is your 303rd dose of the internet. I am Michael Schwan, and please remember, everybody,
don't get eliminated!
Have a good day.